Welcome to your Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain precious tips for easily ignite your full spectrum wealthy life. Join us every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all deserve and want to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. This podcast is powered by Anchor FM by Spotify. Anchor FM is the super awesome free podcast made easy platform. And this podcast is run in conjunctions with the G100 Global Networking. And I'm your host, Dr. Birgitte. And for this week, we're so honored to welcome Doris. Thank you for joining us, Doris. Would you mind introduce yourself to our audience? What do you do?
Thank you, Birgitte, Dr. Birgitte. It's been a pleasure, it's an honor to be here with you. I want to share with the audience that I'm a healer, what they call an energy healer. And I take it to do work with people, animals, and the environment.
Oh, wow. The energy healer is quite impressive to me. We met a little time ago, and the first time I hear about it, my background, as some of you know, and you know, Doris, that is hardcore Western medical training. So when I hear about it, I'm like, yeah, whatever, to be honest. And I've learned so much since then. But oh wow, I honestly did not realize that you do energy healing, I mean, in animal, and even more with the environment. That is fascinating. You can do energy healing not just on people but animal and environment. Tell us what is it like doing energy healing, and also what brings you into doing energy healing, because that's not, let's just say, not not something everybody do.
Well, it's been a very long journey. It started almost 35 years ago. And it started with myself. It started with having aches and pains and things that the medical doctors, who are amazing, but for some reason were not able to help me through that. And I thought it was psychological. I couldn't understand why my body was behaving that way. And it took me from muscle testing. I learned how to do kinesiology, for food intolerances. Then that led me to study the meridian system. And then I went on to study the chakra system. And one thing led to another. The next thing you know, I have a little clinic and people started coming. And the more I worked, the more I learned from my clients. So it's been a very interesting journey.
That is beautiful. So it's kind of like you are the patient first, and then you are able. And I think that is in a way, in a sense, in a way, my dentist, the funniest thing, my dentist says this one day. If you have a dentist, he says, you want to make sure that the person has bad teeth to start with. Because if you have experienced it yourself,
Yeah.
you understand what people going through, and it's usually make you a better practitioner or dentist in his case. And and so that is wonderful that you how you use to all the things you learn to help you, and then now to help others. So give us an idea. So what is energy healing look like? Because for some of us, when I first met you, I was like, ooh, energy healing. And then so I have it in my mind here immediately back then, like, the voodoo thing. And you be burning incense left and right, and they will be drumming. And I was like, so what does energy healing really look like? And when you say like healing the environment, do you use something like that, exotic, or is it you don't even need to be doing that, or is it some certain product that you use, or a combination?
Yes. We learned different techniques over my career, but one of the most effective techniques I learned was through my spiritual teacher, Mahatma Choe Sui. He was from the Philippines and partly Chinese, and he taught us something called pranic energy healing. And he taught us how to use our hands. And the reason I remember, I used my hands, my kids were going to college, and I thought, how am I going to take care of them if they're sick? So he told us, oh, don't worry, you can do this remotely. You can do this from a distance. And the same principle, like when you remember when, or maybe you don't, you're still young, but when our parents used to have the telephone with a long wire, and now we don't have a wire on the telephone, yet we can still talk. So energy travels like that. And sometimes like you're intuitive, you feel like you think of somebody and then they call you, or they say, oh, I've been thinking about you. So our minds have different wavelengths, and they are still, the scientists, just at the tip of the iceberg, realizing how powerful our mind is and how intuitive we are. Somehow women tend to be more intuitive than men. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a hormonal or instinctual, but there are people who can tell way ahead of time, no matter the miles between them, what's going on in another part. So it kind of ties in all together. And the more you start practicing it, the more your skills develop and the more intuitive you become. So it's just not focusing on one item. This is what is the main difference between Western medicine or traditional medicine and energy healing. We don't use the band-aid effect. So let's say you have a headache, chances are you go and buy a tablet from the pharmacy to take care of the habit of the headache. However, if you're doing energy healing, we want to know the reason why, does it occur? So we treat the person holistically, everything to do with their life, their lifestyle, what they eat, their habits, their happiness, their moods, to identify where the real cause of that headache is coming from.
Oh, I love that. I love how you explain that you heal the person holistically as a person, and not just because it's once too familiar where, you know, you take that many Tylenol until it's eventually the cause or something, aspirin, until it's eventually cause liver problem or stomach problem, yes, or what have you. And then where do you go next, right? And that's very true. A lot of time in the Western medicine, it's a matter of we just treat the symptoms instead of the actual cause of the conditions, because, yes, it's a whole lot easier, so to say, in a way, at, yes, least at the beginning.
Yeah. You know, it's another familiar example is high blood pressure. A doctor would prescribe to you a medicine and it would bring down your blood pressure numbers. However, if you stop the medicine, the blood pressure goes up again. So it's not healing it, it's just putting that band-aid or mask on something.
Oh, wow. So, and what you do is actually go to the source and heal the blood pressure, so that once the person can be free from the medication.
Yes.
And you don't even have to be, you said you can do this remotely. Yes. So you don't have to be right there in person.
Correct. And we've trained that way. We did this before COVID, but COVID kind of confirmed it, and my business kind of bloomed during COVID because everybody accepted to talk to you through Zoom, which 10 years ago was not very popular.
Oh, wow, that is so wonderful. That's interesting. So everything is energy is what, and I remember you say that everything is energy and kind of connected. So talking about that and talking about the way the word and COVID and all other thing in the word, do you have a couple tips, perhaps, how can we thrive better in this world where there is so many, you know, for some people there are so many negativity and so many illness and all this thing going on in the world? How can we thrive? How can we stay healthy, yeah, in multiple different ways?
Yes, that's a very good question. It's a big question, but I will try and take an aspect of it. I want to emphasize, if I were to choose one thing that will help us, is to keep our vibrations positive. And I mean by that, and you are a very good advocate of that. I mean, I watched your podcasts, and how do you say, you walk the talk. And I admire that very much. It's just having people think positively. And they say like attracts like. So if you think negative, you attract negative in your life. If you think positive, you attract positive in your life. Holding your heart pure and clear. And we do this through meditation, through affirmations, and through getting to the source of why you're angry, or why are you depressed? What is bothering you really deep down? And many people just put things in a box. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to address it. So this is getting that, opening that box and clearing it, like spring cleaning.
That's very interesting, actually. I never recognized that part of your work, which is, in a way, it's very similar to the grief work that I do.
Yes. Yes.
And particularly my specialty is the unrecognized hidden grief. Like people say, oh, everybody is burned out. I'm like, but why? What is really burned out? Burnout come from overwhelm. When is the overwhelm coming from? From, if you are a physician, from the day to day to day to day, seeing all these things, and it causes grief. Yes. And so, even people who have, say, some people say, oh, you have anger problem, but where, like you said, where is that coming from?
Exactly. And that's what I liked about your talk. One time I watched you talk about hidden grief, and I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is so true, that we hide our emotions, we hide our feelings.
So it's important to recognize our feelings and our emotion and what's going on for us to be able to stay healthy, so to say, to be able to bring it out. Is there something that, let's say, what if somebody said, okay, yes, I got all this, I got that we need to stay positive, but I am surrounded by between the TV and the internet and the person at home and everything else. What can they do in that scenario for them to, as you say, to hold their vibrations in a good place?
Yeah, there are different aspects, but one technique that my mentor, Charlotte Anderson, gave me years ago is grounding. And I know a lot of people teach that. It's just when you're grounded, your mental and emotional body don't disturb you so much. You become in the physical body. You're not la, 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 somewhere there. So grounding can happen through the feet. If you walk barefoot, and I know you're familiar with that, but maybe some of the audience would like to know, if you take off your shoes and just feel the ground beneath the soles of your feet. And when you stand, imagine you're a tree and your feet are the roots of the tree. So keep your energy going, roots going down, down, down into the earth, to anchor yourself. And it's a practice I do every day, but now it becomes automatic. The minute I get out of bed, my feet anchor immediately. And it's weird, but it kind of keeps negative energy at bay. It doesn't affect you. It kind of protects your aura or your energy field from negative intrusions. So I hope this will help if somebody would like to try it.
Oh, you know what? It's very funny that you said that. I remember you mentioned that before, and at the same time you say also know where you are grounding yourself. Don't
remember.
Don't go to the airport walking around. I think you may give an example. Somebody walking through the airport or something, like with bare feet. You're like, what?
Oh gosh, you remember. Good. You have a better memory than me. Yeah, absolutely. And I see a lot of hippie type of people walking barefoot in anywhere on the asphalt. That is, you contaminate your feet, and the sole of the feet pulls in a lot of energy. So maybe walk on the shore of the sea or walk in an area, let's say a public, not a public, but a nature walk without having pesticide on the ground, like in a park, you may find, or dog poop or something. So you don't want to.
Right.
And wash your feet often, like hands and feet. I tell people like this is a very good practice.
Oh, that is so good. So find a space in your house or outside if possible, and walk bare feet, even just for a short time, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And also a lot of cultures keep the shoes outside the door. And this is a wonderful practice. If it can be brought into the Western world, and many people are adopting this practice, it is for a reason, because everything outside is not as clean and you want to keep your house pristine. So that's a very good practice.
That is a great idea. And not to mention, you probably will need to vacuum or mop.
Yeah, well, that will help. And instead of using pesticides, do use something water and vinegar or something natural. So whatever touches the soles of your feet is not toxic.
Right, right. Oh, that is so wonderful. I love how simple your tips and tools are. I mean, very practical, and doesn't matter where you live. Actually, it might be a little challenging if you live on like the 30th floor of New York City, but aside from that, and you can go find a place even in New York, but aside from that, it's super practical. I love that. So beautiful. You are always so rich of wisdom. How do people connect with you if they want to know more about your teaching or your healing?
Well, the best way is to go to my website and read about what I do. I have a free download, like a gift for people who sign up for the newsletter. I give classes. I have some classes on Teachable, and I do regular one-on-one sessions or group sessions or talks. I don't do podcasts yet. I'm not techy enough, but yeah, and of course I have my products which help the healing business as well.
What is your website again?
www.dorotheahealing, DOROTHEA, and the word healing.com. So it's dorotheahealing.com.
That is wonderful. Oh, that is, thank you so much for the very rich information. Do you have a final, before we close down, do you have a final message for our audience living in this world of so much chaos and so much all things going on, from the COVID-19 to here in the US with inflation, with recession, and everything else is in the world?
Yes, yes. It's been a very challenging 2 years. You know, the concept of forgiveness is very popular with a lot of healers. I find self-forgiveness is very crucial to having serenity and peace of mind. And if anybody, and you know that because we mentioned it in one of your talks, but self-forgiveness is key to having that serenity, and I'm enough. That's it. Whatever you do, that's fine. And not blame or feel guilty or shame for not doing your best. And we're all here on a journey. So we do the best we can. And if we were meant to do something else, it will be revealed unto us. So.
Oh, that is beautiful. Self-forgiveness, and just accept ourselves as is, and not going out there and to start with. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doris. So appreciate your wisdom and your very useful and very practical tip at the same time. Thank you so much for helping people stay healthy through health, right? Not just bandage effects, so to say. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your tips today. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share 1 or 2 gold nuggets in the comment so we can continue learning from each other. And thank you for joining us. Please share this podcast with your friends and family so they too can be healthy, completely, fully, truly healthy inside and out. And this is Dr. Birgitte, your grief transformation specialist for individual and businesses, founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity, and United States Country Chair for Global Networking G100 All Ladies League. And you make it a thriving day, my friend, and we will see you again Saturday next week at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye for now.